Breaking news, Isak has signed for Liverpool out of nowhere. I didn't even know he wanted to leave. Definitely have not heard this before throughout the entirety of the transfer window. And don't forget too, Wissa is now in action, having left Brentford for Newcastle. But what does this mean for our teams? There is now a huge list of quality forward options to choose from. Is it now time to go 3 at the front? So in this video, we're going to muse about Isak and what that means for our FPL teams and what that means for Ekitike owners. Is he going to still be a good option? We will also ponder over the prospect of Wissa from Brentford to Newcastle. And for the good boys and girls who stick to the end, we'll finish off by looking at a couple wildcard teams to drool over, which will feature 3 forwards in the starting lineup. My goal this season is to reach the top 100,000 of the Promised Land's Valhalla. I'll be wildcarding for Game Week 4, and I want us together on that journey, so please do like and subscribe to keep updated. But now let's go on to Isak. I'm sure you are aware that he was the best performing forward last year. His goal involvement per 90 was 1. Yeah, you heard me right. 1 per 90. That's 1 goal or assist every 90 minutes. What a mental return. In total, I think he contributed 23 goals and 6 assists last season. But the £1 million question, or rather the £125 million question, can he replicate this form for Liverpool? Well, assuming there are no Geordie shamans out there cursing Isak, melting his old shirt in a boiling pot of Newcastle brown ale in the back of a Greg's car park, then yeah, of course he can. We know Liverpool have incredible creators in their team. The only short-term issue is we are coming into Game Week 4 and Isak hasn't played a minute of football this season. I don't even think he featured in Newcastle's preseason. So is he going to slot into starting 11 for the first available game week against Burnley? Hopefully, but it's a huge doubt. I mean, he will most certainly feature, but most likely as a sub to get his minutes up. So right now, at the point of recording, he's 10.5 million. His price dropped down by 0.1 million because of the whole debacle the first 3 game weeks. We didn't know if he was going to play, so people just kept selling him. But I'm sure his price will likely increase within the next 2 weeks. So I've got him in my team, just secured him with this wild card I've activated. Let me know, is Isak a shoo-in for you? Is he going to go straight in your team? I'll be very interested in knowing your perspective, because I want to learn and expand my knowledge, think about something which hasn't occurred into the back of my brain. But what about Ekitike? What does this mean for him? Where will he play? Will he eventually be dropped to the bench? Will he move out wide? Will he stay as a striker and Liverpool play a 4-4-2? Isak is huge. He's a huge 1.92 meters, whereas Ekitike, he's tiny. He's only 1.9 meters tall. In the Netherlands, he could legally register as a dwarf and get disability benefits. So will they have a Crouch Defoe-esque little and large partnership? Am I allowed to say I have no idea? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. There are musings amongst people not in the know, however, suggesting that he would go out wide on the left, pushing Gakpo to the bench and Isak up top as a lone striker. But whatever happens, it's suggesting that Ekitike's goal-scoring opportunities may go down slightly, but by no means suddenly making him a bad option. So if you have him, should you sell him? I don't think so, not yet. As I mentioned earlier, Isak hasn't played a minute of football this season. So I think it's likely he'll be gradually phased in to build his minutes rather than immediately booting Ekitike to the curb. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea to hold on to Ekitike for the next game at Burnley, see how Isak is introduced to get an idea of where Ekitike is subsequently placed, to then make a better decision going forwards. Now on to Wissa, and if you've enjoyed this video so far, then please do drop it a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's help each other out. Newcastle have really missed having a quality striker so far this season. They played 3 games, only scored 2 goals. So that's 0.7 goals a game, which is pretty bad. However, it's not like they haven't been creating chances. They've had a tricky couple fixtures so far, but Newcastle as a team are in the top half of clubs in terms of goal attempts. They've just haven't had someone to put those chances away. And Vissa's non-penalty goal involvement last season for Brentford was just as good as Isak for Newcastle. With Wissa scoring about 50% of his chances last year, this seems to be a match made in heaven for Newcastle. And with a goal involvement of 0.7 for Brentford last year and only costing 7.5 million, he does seem to be a match made in heaven for our FPL teams as well. But again, similarly to Isak, he hasn't played a minute of football this season, so you'd think he'd just be unlikely to start the next match. And with that new German chap, I can't remember his name, Wüstenbrudel, whatever, the German Peter Crouch, that's twice. I've mentioned Peter Crouch twice now in this video. I wasn't expecting that. So with this new German fella, is Wissa going to be the main man? Or would Wüstenbrudel, or whatever his name is he going to be the main man? It's difficult to say. Newcastle's upcoming fixtures, they're decent. Wolves, Bournemouth, Arsenal not so great, Forest not so great, but Brighton and Fulham, I mean, those are definitely goal-scoring opportunities. They might not win those games, but there's definitely chances there for goals. So should you purchase Wissa? I think there's more doubts with Wissa than there are for Isak, solely because of this German Peter Crouch. He might likely be the one to start up top, so perhaps hold off for the game against Wolves and see what happens to get an indication of minutes there. But now, you know what time it is. It's team time. Let's have a look at a few teams we can put together, changing up the structure. I think most people are going with 5 midfielders. What if we were to go for 4 midfielders and 3 forwards instead? Now there's a plethora of beautiful forwards out there for us to work with. So this is the first team that's possible. Let's start in goal. We've got Henderson, Sunderland they have next, and then going on to defence, we have Munoz, also at Crystal Palace, playing against Sunderland. We have Tarkowski in there for his defensive contributions. Pedro Porro against a poor West Ham team, even though they did pretty decent last game. But he's up there for his potential clean sheet and potential goal threat. Moving on to midfield, we have Johnson. Now, he's got a question mark over his head now too with Spurs signing that player from the German league, so we'll have to keep an eye on, see if he's still a good option. But next up we have Grealish. Now he's been smashing it the last 2 games, 2 assists in each of those last 2 games, really good, and that's at a cheap price. I mean, his price is rising, but he's still under £7 million as of recording this. We now have Caicedo, who has been in my team since the beginning, and I've been happy having him in there. He's only 5.5 million. He's not highly owned, so he's a differential, and he gets good defensive contributions and the occasional clean sheet bonus point as well. So I'm pretty happy with keeping him in there, to be honest, as a cheap starter. But then we have the captain, Mo Salah, in there for obvious reasons, finishing off the midfield. And then the forward option, Mateta for Crystal Palace. Now, we're tripling up on Crystal Palace players in this team. They don't have terrible fixtures. They have difficult fixtures, but certainly fixtures they can score in. And Mateta has had decent expected goal involvement so far this season after just 3 games. So sticking with João Pedro as the second striker, and then obviously including Isak as the third starting striker. And on the bench, filled it up with cheap options. So obviously Dubravka, only 4 million, I believe, starting for Burnley, so a really good option. And then we have Brooks for Bournemouth. He's really cheap. He's a starter, and he does get decent expected goal involvement there. He hasn't returned yet this season, but he's a good option on the bench. And then we move on to the final 2 defenders on the bench. Rodon at Leeds, and I don't know how to pronounce this chap's name, from Sunderland. They're both starters, and they're both the cheapest defenders you can buy, so not bad options to have at all. So that was the first team. Let me know what you think about this team. 3 starting strikers. Team number 2, and this is a tasty team indeed, because we're including Haaland in this team. What major changes have we made from the first team? Well, we have Vicario instead for Spurs in goal, instead of Henderson for Crystal Palace. Spurs have just got the better fixtures starting off, so more likely to get those clean sheet points. We also have Virgil, the Liverpool defender. We've taken out Pedro Porro from Spurs and put in Virgil. Who else have we got? We've taken out Grealish in midfield and put in Dewsbury Hall. He's got a return in the last 3 games, and his expected goal involvement's pretty decent decent too. Not as good as Grealish so far, but he's not a bad option at all. At only 5 million. We've also included Semenyo. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but that's how I'm pronouncing it. Semenyo. Super popular. His price skyrocketed. It started off at 7 million. Now he's 7.4. So it's a bit more tricky getting him in. And Bournemouth, they're no mugs. They're no mugs. And they've got a decent, not great, but decent run of fixtures coming up. And then in the lineup as well, instead of Isak, we've gone with Evanilson, Bournemouth striker. We're sticking with Mateta, and now the Pierre de Resistance. We got Haaland up, so we got 2 premiums in there, in Salah and Haaland. This is potentially a scary team, and you know what, the more I look at it, the more I think I'm going to try and squeeze in Haaland. But how can we squeeze in Haaland, Salah and Isak into one team? Well, this is team 3, this potential option here. So what are the key changes in this team in order to squeeze these premium strikers in? We have Dubravka. So we've downgraded the Spurs keeper down to Dubravka to save money there. We've gotten rid of Virgil and put back Pedro Porro to squeeze the change in here. And in midfield, we've gotten rid of Semenyo, put back in Brooks. So the starting midfield would be Brooks, Caicedo, Salah and Dewsbury Hall. Not the best midfield. I'm going to have to really think about that. We have £0.6 million left, so perhaps there's an upgrade we can be done for Brooks or Dewsbury Hall. We'll have to think about that. But the forward lineup is where things get tasty. So we have Wissa at 7.5 million, Haaland at 14.1 million, and Isak at 10.4 million. So in this scary squad, we have Haaland, Isak, and Salah, and room also for another top forward. It could be Wissa, or I could downgrade Wissa to the new German striker that's in Newcastle. That because he's 7 million. He's 7 million, and use that extra 0.5 million to then perhaps upgrade someone in my midfield. So I'll have 1.1 million in total to upgrade Brooks perhaps, or Dewsbury Hall, or Caicedo, someone just to boost up that midfield. And you know what? That is looking to be a really tasty option for a wild card. I'm seriously considering that, and I'm going to have a deep think. But let me know of these 3 options, which option do you like the best? And if you like none of those options, then tell me what you think is better for a wild card in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and like this video. Share it with whomever you think may benefit. This is FPL Sucks, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.